on Get Up, and here we go with Grazian notes. Here's what I've charged Dan to do. There have been so many things that have happened that have gotten a lot of attention in the NFL the last few days. I wanted him to give us some notes that are a little bit under the radar but important. Dan, what are they doing in San Francisco?
Yeah, it's a reset in terms of their roster building philosophy, their spending philosophy. They've let a lot of guys walk out the door. Deebo Samuel was traded. Dre Greenlaw signs with Denver. They're cutting Kyle Juszczyk. A lot of guys who have been central to their success. They had the highest cash spend of any team last year, and they didn't make the playoffs, so they're trying to recalibrate that. They already have over $80 million in dead money assigned to their cap for this year, so it's a hard reset. We've seen teams do it. 2 years ago, the Rams did it, and the Buccaneers did it, and they both made the playoffs. So the 49ers would tell you it's not like a rebuild. And a lot of their core guys, like McCaffrey, Kittle, Fred Warner, Nick Bosa, they're all still there. But it's been more about who's leaving than who's coming in San Francisco so
Cindy,
far.
let's do B7. I mean, you could field half a team with the players that have left San Francisco this year. Again, Deebo Samuel, Kyle Juszczyk. Look at all of these names. I mean, that's a lot of players and a lot of them that you know. Defense, offensive line, running backs. I guess the question is, do you believe right now, Ryan Clark, that what they should entertain doing is trading Christian McCaffrey?
Ooh.
And Christian McCaffrey is at the tail end of being one of the genuinely great difference-making players in the National Football League. And if you were doing a little bit of a reset here, why not go all the way?
I would absolutely trade Christian McCaffrey, and I would try to get as much as I could possibly get for him. When you look at what Kyle Shanahan has been able to do, it's run the football. And I know we thought last year they missed some of the things with the versatility of Christian McCaffrey, but when you trade Juszczyk, you let some of that versatility go. You let some of the things you can do formationally go. And so why not change your entire philosophy from thinking about Christian McCaffrey as this Swiss Army knife, getting pieces for him and allowing guys like Ricky Pearsall to touch the football more with running the football and doing different things on quick screens, adding other players based on the assets that you could get for them. Also understanding you're looking for more available players than Christian McCaffrey was last year. You had a good stretch with him. You took your run at the Super Bowl. You didn't get it. If you're going to rebuild completely.
What do you think?
I mean, I'm not sure. I think the name Christian McCaffrey, it sounds like it can get you a lot more than Christian McCaffrey can actually get you, because the other teams actually also know that Christian McCaffrey was injured a bunch last year, and they know the history of the running back position. So I wouldn't hate the idea of taking some calls, but I honestly think that he's probably worth more to you than he is to any other team out there. Maybe later in the season, he becomes more valuable. He shows healthy, and there's a team that's like, hey, we're closer than we think. We need a real difference maker. Then maybe you consider trading.
The words on the screen said the Brock Purdy pending extension plays into this. Are they going to pay him $50 million a year?
Well, certainly he would hope to get more than that, given the look. He had the Trevor Lawrence contract was in his favor, right? Because Trevor Lawrence never been to the conference championship game, never been to the Super Bowl, never finished first in QBR at $55 million. Now that Josh Allen, the reigning MVP, gets $55, that kind of hurts his argument to get more than that. So we'll see. They're going to work on it, and I think they probably do extend him at some point this offseason. But the model changes. You talk about losing a Swiss Army knife in Christian McCaffrey. Deebo was another Swiss Army knife that is already gone. Whatever is, and Kyle Juszczyk has been there the whole time that Kyle Shanahan has. He's going to have to change a lot about his offense just based on the personnel change.
Well, I mean, like you think about New Edition, right? When they lost Bobby Brown, they were able to give you Johnny Gill.
Yeah.
But then once Ralph Tresvant left, that's how we got Bell Biv DeVoe. And all Bell Biv DeVoe gave us was poison. Right? They only gave us one hit. Now, it was a hell of a hit, though.
Never trusted in a smile.
Never trust smiling, but and a smile.
Yeah,
you can get one or the other.
Separately, but you put them together and you don't want to trust.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
But like the big thing is this though, like you don't get to lose all of these players and stay the same. Yeah. You don't get to play the same tunes. You don't get to go on the same tours. And that's what the San Francisco 49ers are trying to do. If you're going to rebuild, in my opinion, say we're going to pay Brock Purdy and now we're going to build this team the best we can without some of the stalwarts we had year to year.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have to give some credit to what Shanahan has done over the years. They generate offense. I think the scarier thing, honestly, is that they've always had a really good defense there.
Yeah.
And all those players, the defense wasn't great the last couple of years, and all those players leaving, what Robert Saleh is going to be able to do there on defense might determine how much longer this run lasts.
Let me quickly go to the Hendrickson one, because we're going to run out of time here, and I want to just make sure we understand what's going on in Cincinnati, because Joe Burrow at the Super Bowl gave Laura Rutledge like an extremely detailed, like he had spreadsheets. He had clearly done like Microsoft Excel. He had it figured out how they were going to pay T. Higgins and Jamar Chase and Trey Hendrickson, and then 10 minutes later, Trey Hendrickson is getting traded, and he hasn't been yet.
He hasn't.
So what's going on there?
He's been given permission to find, explore trades, find a team that's willing to pay him the contract he's looking for, and also give the Bengals enough to justify trading him. To this point, he has not found that. He may still, but it's also possible that this works out where he doesn't find what he's looking for, and he goes back to the Bengals, who were trying to sign him prior to this. So this is in a holding pattern. There are teams interested. Washington Commanders are one of the prominent teams that has been interested in Trey Hendrickson. My understanding is so far, teams are still turned off by the Bengals' asking price, especially considering the acquisition would have to come with a new contract for Trey Hendrickson, who's 30 years old, even though he did just lead the league in sacks. So it's a tricky situation. It could certainly end up with him being traded.
They kind of did this to Trey Hendrickson to say, hey, go see what the market looks like, and now we can sign you for what we are willing to pay.
I do. It's like, look, if you think you're worth X and we think you're not, go find X, right? And if you do, God bless you. Like, we'll figure it out. If you don't, then consider, like, we made you what we thought was a nice offer. Maybe consider coming back and taking that.
They got a lot of people to pay. They've taken a long time to pay them. There's a history of that organization being uncomfortable with making those commitments. Like, I think for what you have in Joe Burrow, he came into the league later than a lot of players do. He's had a little bit more injuries than you expect for a quarterback. Like, this window is small, and I'm really concerned that they are going to blow it, and that those Aaron Donald pressures at the end of that game might have been the closest that this team is going to get to Super Bowl with an all-time great quarterback.
And that's the problem, right? Like, they are trying to pay guys later rather than early. And if you look at some of these teams, now we don't know that Jamar Chase is going to win the Triple Crown, but we knew he wasn't going to suck. Right. And so instead of paying him then when you have an opportunity to get him at a market price, he already said, know your worth and then add some taxes. And that's going to be a big price to pay for the Cincinnati Bengals. Fees. And you can lose two other big-time guys.
Late fees. You pay your bills on time. You ain't got to pay no late fees, Greeny.
Nothing has ever been more obvious than the fact that Jamar Chase was going to be a foundational piece for the foreseeable future. You pay that guy immediately. If he's not the best receiver in the NFL, he's second.
Tell you what,
Danny Dimes is getting a bunch of them, signing a one-year deal with the Colts for $14 million. Jones had an opportunity to stay in Minnesota, but elected to sign with Indy to compete with Anthony Richardson for the starting job. Because remember, Colts GM Chris Ballard said at the Combine that the team was planning to have an open competition at quarterback. Now listen, maybe an open competition, but it isn't necessarily a healthy competition. AR has struggled in his first two NFL seasons, but Jones, he's been even worse, ranking 30th in QBR among 34 NFL quarterbacks who have made at least 15 starts